past and the ratings for education nationwide. So I guess that's a multifaceted question for you.
Well, what's the question part?
The question part is, how do we keep them from keeping their fingers out of what is education derived and purposed,
Okay.
and then holding us hostage for education dollars with tax increases?
Okay. This is a state
Is that
question.
enough?
This is a state question which I will answer, even though my campaign is always telling me to not get into state questions. But it's a good question. So let me do this as simply as I can. In the state of Arizona, 60 cents on every single dollar that you pay in taxes goes to K through 12 plus universities. Period. 60%. That's the first thing. Fact number two, a large chunk of the budget that we have in Phoenix is locked. What that means is you can't touch it. I think we are able to spend about 33% of the budget is not touched by the court order, federal government, ballot measures that people pass when you go to the polls. You pass a bill that says that you want to fund children's health care, what have you. All of that's untouchable because it's passed by it's voter protected. So those are some of the facts that we're under in our state. They do get a lot of money, and there's not a lot left that you can cut, but some of that money that's protected is education itself. Now let's talk about the fact that we're constantly 49th in education and spending. Thank goodness for Mississippi, because they're always 50.
Make us look good.
And my mom was from Mississippi, and so she'd probably be mad at me for saying that. But the thing is that that's sort of true, but it's also sort of not true. We in the state have to spend money from the state level on capital. Basically, we have a school facilities board that spends the money for school buildings. The way we used to do it is we have property taxes paid for that at your local school district. It doesn't work that way anymore because we failed to win a lawsuit. And we lost that lawsuit and says that you have to have the state controlling that. So it's all equal. There's no other state that I know of that the entire state pays for school facilities. If you add that plus the amount that we spend for maintenance and operations, basically teachers, etc., we're not 49th. But we have to spend that money, and it has to come from somewhere, and basically they don't spend it at the local level, so it has to be spent at the top level, which I think is a stupid way of doing things. It's very inefficient.
Let's carry this to the federal level. A lot of that stuff is mandated by the federal government.
Absolutely.
There's a considerable amount of conservative view towards the issue of eliminating the federal Department of Education. What's your view on that?
I think that, first of all, it's not going to happen. I mean, it's one of those things like I hear a lot of people talking about what if we got rid of the 17th Amendment or something like that. Those are interesting discussions, but we all know that the thing that we have proof of eternal life on this earth is a government program that we know it's very difficult to get rid of it.
And that's about the newest one, the Department of Education.
I'm not sure we got Homeland Security, which is basically has absorbed all the others. But let's go back to your question, because this is something that's similar with not just the Department of Education, Department of Environmental Quality, and I'll dovetail it with your question, which is I've got two school districts in my legislative district. I have the Vail School District, and I have Tucson Unified School District right next to each other. Okay, I'm using these examples because
You got Buena down here also.
I have Buena, but they don't fit my example very well, Gene, so I have to use these. You have two school districts right next to each other. One school district, TUSD, has huge problems. It's a bloated bureaucracy. It is, you got parents fleeing the district in droves because they teach all kinds of crazy things in the schools. They don't like the school. Right next to it, you have the Vail School District. Their biggest problem is that all those parents are sending their kids to the Vail School District. And they don't have the buildings to be able to handle all the students that are moving in. So they're one of the fastest growing school districts in the state, one of the top 5 in Arizona. So you have right next to each other. Two different districts right next to each other, two very different sets of problems. And yet we have one federal government that says, no child left behind, all these other federal regulations are going to apply to everybody. How stupid is that? What should have happened is that money should have gone down to the state in the first place. The state should have said, here you go, Buena, here you go, Vail, here you go, TUSD. This is your money. We have certain expectations, but at the end of the day, we want to take away the red tape, and you can go to your local school board and complain why Johnny can't read if they're not teaching him well, because they ultimately have the responsibility. That's the way it should work. And then you know the money is being spent locally, you know how it's being spent, and you know that there's not a raft of red tape that's separating the student and the person. That, to me, is the way to do things, and that's how the federal government has hurt a lot of things in our state.
Across the lottery advantaged education.
The lottery has been split up so many different ways. It's not just education anymore. They keep adding things to it. There's a lot of other things besides the lottery. We try to fix it. We try to say, we're going to do this thing. Remember when I said the whole eternal life thing in a government program? When you tell people, we're going to take away your lottery money for whatever crazy program you're getting funding for, and we're just going to devote it completely to education, all of a sudden every group comes out of the woodwork and they have some hooks into some politician somewhere along the way. But it's still not a lot of money. I mean, it's not a lot of money that goes into the lottery in the first place. And it's been declining every year since. The lion's share of money comes from the general fund, which is collected in sales taxes. And for the record, I voted against referring the sales tax to the ballot in the first place. So you know where I stand on that. I think we got time for a couple more. Yes, sir.
What committees are you hoping to sit on in January?
I think the one that I would want to be involved in is either Armed Services or the Intelligence Committee. Mr. Owen, I think, would like to see that. To be lobbying, you know, sure. Anything that deals with national security in general, I think, is something I care about. And that's something that's very important to me. Veterans Committee is another one that would be important to me. And finally, I think commerce and energy is really, really important. One more. Yes, ma'am.
What do you propose to do with the people who have been living illegally in this country for a long time?
I think that the biggest problem is that every single bill that's come up has said, this is how we're going to deal with them, this is how we're going to secure the border, and this is how we're going to do all X, Y, and Z, all these things all in one bill.
Comprehensive.
And I think that it was well-intentioned, but I think ultimately it doesn't work. Because, first of all, the American people don't believe they're actually going to secure the border. And until that's done, you cannot really fully address what happens to them. I don't believe you should give amnesty to people who come in here illegally. Deborah Diffrich has said she believes in some sort of, I don't know how she put it, but it was something like progressive.
Gradual.
What was that?
Gradual.
Gradual
Path to
pathway citizenship or something like that. Whatever it is. I mean, if you came here illegally, we shouldn't reward you. You should go to the back of the line and you should apply for citizenship just like everybody else. That's what I believe.
Applies equally.
There it is. But I don't think you should be able to, well, you've been here for a while, you've been living under the radar, and you get amnesty, because what's going to happen? They'll say, well, this is the last time we're going to do it.
And you got an 18-year-old kid who's on scholarship to Harvard. Good Lord.
I mean, I think that what people want us to do now is they want us to secure the border. And they want us to do it with a fence, and they want us to do it with troops, and they want us to do it now. And I don't think I think that they were genuinely shocked that 1070 passed, and that they were shocked with the reaction that the public had from 1070. So, anyway. Two more, just two more.
Two comments.
Yes.
Once you secure the border, then those individuals will have to make a choice, whether they want to stay under the radar or whether they want to go home. And they will do all of that at the same time. There won't be any mass immigration one way or the other. People will just have to make a choice. Secondly, I visited California to visit relatives over there within the last month, and my dear wife and I took a cruise to Alaska a couple of weeks ago. In both of those areas, we talked to people who, first of all, found out that we were Arizonans. And
did they buy you dinner?
they did not expect me to be a knuckle dragger, with a large bony ridge over the forehead, looking for someone with brown skin to eat.